Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. I'm so glad you're here. Well, the stock market continues its march higher, right? Now, a lot of people ask me, am I short the market? No, I'm not. It's not time to short yet. Getting real close. I'd love to short this market, but we've been in this uptrend, right? Now, I never have a large short position on a market that is above the 20-day moving average. Now, once we drop below the 20-day moving average, yes, I do plan to short this market. I think it's going lower, but I am not short the market yet. I'll wait for it to drop below the 20-day, wait for it to stay there a day or two, and then I'll be selling every rip. I'll be selling into it. This rises, I'll be selling into it. But right now, it's been the exact opposite, since October. Every time it comes down close to the 20-day, that's been the time to buy. Down close to the 20-day, time to buy. Down, it's never dropped below the 20-day. But it's getting real close to the end of the run-up, and I will be going short the market when we get below the 20-day. But until then, there's better plays in the marketplace. There's a lot better plays, I think. My take, well, the miners, just the miners, if you bought them 2 weeks ago, they're already up 10%. That's the gold and silver miners. Is it time to buy them right now? No, I'd wait for a pullback. But that move's not over. The miners are going to be going much higher. That's just my take. But I would wait for a pullback. I wouldn't be a buyer of anything that just rose 10% in the last couple of weeks. All right, let's get over to the housing market. Well, let's first talk about the lender that went out of business. America's largest lender. What were they called? Rocket. What were they called before that? Quicken Loans or Quicken something. Maybe it wasn't Quicken Loans. Anyways, Rocket Mortgage went out of business, right? I mean, they're shutting down all their retail business. They're not going to be doing the loans anymore. Interesting, right? There's just no business. You can't blame them. They can't make it when there's no business. But that's interesting. See, when you got the lender closing, think about banks. Now, think about banks. Banks are going to be also closing. There's going to be hundreds of them going out of business. This is just my take, but what I want to really talk today about is, well, the speech that Biden gave, right? This isn't political. I don't like either candidate. I don't think that people in their 80s should be president. That's just my take. Maybe you have a different take, but I think the young people should rise up and take over the political offices. I mean, we got congressmen out there. I think they're 90, 100 years old. They're still doing it. Maybe we should have term limits. Maybe we should have age limits. Just my take. But Biden gives a speech, State of the Union, right? Well, the reason I have to talk about it is because he came out with a plan to fix the housing market. Isn't that great? Okay. Well, what do you think it entails? Well, of course, we're going to print more money, right? He's going to give everybody $5,000 to go out there and buy a house. Now, if you sell your house, he's going to give you $10,000. So he's going to give people $5,000 to buy it, $10,000 to sell it. Isn't that fascinating? I don't think the program's going to solve the housing market. Maybe he'll keep it propped up here, keep it propped up at the prices where Billy Bob got out at, but I really don't see that as a way to help the housing market. Now in California, we even go more wild than that. For the newcomers, let me just call them, well, basically they're illegal immigrants, right? The newcomers to California, we're going to buy them a house. Gavin Newsom, he's going to buy them a house. He's going to give them the down payment. They don't have to pay any interest on the down payment. Now, when they sell the house, they have to give the down payment back and a percentage of the profits to go into Gavin's pocket, I guess. But anyways, I mean, we get really wild in California, but that's what California is doing. So that's not going to solve the housing problem either. Once again, where does the money come from? Does Gavin have the money? No, he doesn't have the money. Does Joe have the money? No, he doesn't have the money. We're going to print the money. We're going to print the money. Now, people don't understand that this is harmful. Another thing that Mr. Biden said in his State of the Union, he's never going to tax anyone a penny that makes below $400,000. Now, what Joe doesn't tell you is that inflation is a tax. It's the worst tax of all, right? I mean, since he's been in office, we have lost 20% of our purchasing power. 20% of our purchasing power just has gotten wiped out. I mean, every dollar you make, 20% less. Every dollar you spend, 20% less. Every dollar you have in savings is now worth 20% less. This is a tax, Joe. Joe, you're taxing the crap out of everybody. Inflation is a tax. Now, personally, I really don't see the difference between if we have to send in our taxes anymore, because they could just print the taxes, right? I mean, then it wouldn't be any tax, right? As long as you just print it, that's no problem. Joe will tell you that's not a tax when you print money. I will tell you it is a tax, and I will tell you it's the worst kind of tax. But that's Joe's take, that he's not taxing us, but he is. Look, when Joe forgives student loans, and that's a whole nother issue. I know it's very controversial, but when the Supreme Court says you can't do it and you totally disrespect the Supreme Court and you go ahead and do it anyways, well, my opinion is it's time to get out of office, Joe. You can't disrespect the Supreme Court like that, but that's just my take. A lot of people say Supreme Court doesn't mean anything anymore, and maybe it doesn't, Maybe that's the direction we're going. Maybe we're going into a lawless society. Maybe we're going into, well, I don't even know. But anyways, Joe forgives the student loans. Maybe he's going to start to forgive your mortgages. Oh, that'd be cool, wouldn't it? Well, that'd be illegal, Mike. Well, it's illegal to forgive the student loans. Supreme Court ruled, so why not just forgive the mortgages? Why not forgive your auto loan, right? I mean, why not? I mean, hey, they can print the money and forgive your auto loans. What about your credit card? They could forgive those. My point is that they can print unlimited amounts of money, right? As soon as houses start to drop, they could buy every house and they could pay above asking prices, right? I mean, they could come in with all cash. They can print $100 trillion and buy every house out there, right? They possibly could do that. So a lot of people are upset with me because my take is that the housing market is going to come down by 40%. Now, look they could print 100 trillion, 200 trillion, 300 trillion. They could double, quadruple the house prices. I get that. In nominal terms, that's absolutely true. I get that. Now, I don't think they will, because there'll be these things called pitchforks that come out and they'll be coming after them. But they could do that, right? They could do that. But they can't do it against real money. Real money is gold and silver. Now, I don't get everything right on this channel. People call me out all the time. Mike, you get everything wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a boomer. And all of that can be true. I have no problem with that. That's fine. Whatever they want to think is fine. But here's the thing. Okay, look, you cannot just print the money into infinity. Okay, now I do get things wrong, and I do use words that I know what I mean, you know what I mean, but people call me out. I say printing of money. Technically, it's not printing money. The government is borrowing money. So we're not printing money, we're borrowing money. But where's the money come from? Well, it comes from the Fed. Okay, the Fed's going to buy all this. Well, where do they get the money from? They don't have it. They print the money, right? Okay. So anyway, so the government, they borrow money. But when they borrow money, this is creating more and more debt. We're at 35 trillion now, going to probably be closer to 40 trillion when this year ends, because I call it printing money. Okay, semantics, right? Now also real money, gold and silver, and sometimes I call currency, I call it money. You know what I mean. Currency technically is just currency. It's not money. Gold and silver are money. But against gold and silver, the house prices are going to free fall like a rock. 80, 90%. And that may be conservative. But Mike, that could never happen. Look, it's already happened in 1970, right? It took about $18,000, 18,000 ounces of silver to buy the average price home. By the time 1980 rolled around, it took 800 ounces of silver to buy the average price home. Right now, where we're at right now, takes about 18,000 ounces of silver to buy the average price home. I don't think it's going to be 10 years from now where it's going to be 500 ounces of silver. It could happen 3 to 5 years. And I believe that it will. 500 ounces of silver. And people get real upset because, well, but Mike, I don't have any gold. I don't have any silver. Well, you might want to get some. Silver is relatively cheap. Let's call it 25 bucks, right? Maybe you don't have money. Maybe you have a little bit. Maybe you stack it away. Maybe you build up 500 ounces. What is that? About $12,500. All right. So let's say I'm wrong. Let's say silver goes to zero. You lost $12,500. Absolutely you did. But if I'm right and 500 ounces of silver buys the average price house, well, wouldn't that be interesting? Mike was right. Okay. And so then you trade your 500 ounces of silver in for money and you go buy the average price home. Okay, right? That's easy. Okay, no, makes sense to me, right? All right. So you got home prices. Maybe they keep them up here where Billy Bob is in nominal terms because they really don't want them to drop down. Now, I have a solution for the housing problem. I can fix the housing problem in one day if I was president. One day. How would I do it? How would you do it, Tall Mike? One day I'd fix the problem, right? I would sign a bill that passes a law that says anyone with the second, third, fourth, or fifth home has basically a 3% property tax. 3% property tax on the second, third, or fourth home, right? Not your principal residence. That property tax stays the same. But 3% property tax on all other homes. What would that do, Tall Mike? Well, you see, homes, they were never meant to be hotels. Homes were meant to raise families, and homes were meant to be owned long-term. They weren't meant to be Airbnb'd out as hotels. They weren't meant to turn Wall Street into a casino where they could get the money free from Jerome Powell and go out and pay cash and bid against all you nice people for your homes, right? So if you had to pay a 3% property tax, do you think that people would still turn their home into a hotel? I don't think so. It would not be their principal residence, so they'd have to pay an extra 3%. Would the corporations be buying homes? I don't think so. They only make about 5%. That'd take 3%. They'd be down to 2% when they can put their money in bonds at 4 or 5% and wipe all that out. There would be a tsunami of inventory coming onto the marketplace. Look, at over 10% of homes in the United States are sitting vacant right now. Over 10%, right? I mean, there's some beautiful homes. I mean, these might be a beachfront home and it sits vacant. Well, it sits vacant 10, 11 months out of the year. Why? Well, because the people that own it, that's their summer home and they go there for a month. But the other 11 months, it sits vacant, the most beautiful, pristine real estate in the world. Well, why shouldn't they pay a 3% tax on that, right? Okay, they're rich. They keep saying they want to tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. They don't want to tax the rich. Rich people own 2, 3, and 4, and 5 homes, right? Those are rich people. But who else owns 2, 3, 4, and 5 homes? The people in Congress. That's who owns them. So they're not going to pass this law. It's not going to happen. This law would pass in an instant. Put it on the ballot. Let's vote on it. Let's see what the people think. Why would it pass in a landslide? Because most people don't own 2, 3, 4, and 5 homes. So I would fix the housing problem that way. What would it do to the housing prices? They would come down probably by more than 40%. But that would be bad, Mike. That would be bad. That'd be a crash. We wouldn't get to collect all the tax revenue. Sure you would. If a corporation buys a house, you're now collecting an extra 3% in tax revenues from them. It would solve the problem. Now, I know it's not going to be popular. That's just my take. That's just what I would do. But that's a lot of people wouldn't agree with that. Now, I know people get upset when I say houses are going to drop. People get upset with a lot of things. Here's one the other day people got upset with, right? I love this. The Moon Boys. I love the Moon Boys. Moon Boys are my favorite, right? But okay, so they got upset because I said Bitcoin was a fiat currency. Now, maybe it is, maybe it's not. I say it is, right? But, I got flamed with the comments, right? I mean, they went off. It's not fiat, it's digital gold. Digital gold. Look, it may be, right? But in my opinion, it's just digital fiat, right? Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of people think I hate Bitcoin. I don't hate Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. It's the best gambling mechanism ever invented. It'll go down 80%. It'll go up 80%. It'll go up and down. And I gamble on it. I love Bitcoin. But it's still a digital fiat. It's not gold. It hasn't got anything to do with gold. But people like to compare it to, you ever see a Bitcoin symbol? They always make it in silver or gold. It's funny. You ever hold the Bitcoin in your hand? No, you never have you? Well, because you can't, right? Because you can't. Well, let me tell you, put your hand out. Okay, right now you're holding an unlimited supply of Bitcoin in your hand right now. Yes, you are. Now, I like gold and silver. I can put it in my hand and I get excited about it. It's got an energy to it. It's got substance. And that's just my take. I know I'm just an old boomer guy, but I'll take my chance on real money. That's just me, though. You got to do what you got to do. You want to get out there and buy a house? Go out and buy a house right now. You buy right up here where Billy Bob sold that. And that's fine. That's fine. They're going to print money and maybe in nominal terms your house will continue to go up. But in real money, in gold and silver, yes, it's going to drop by 80 to 90%. Once again, this is just my take. I'm sure your take is completely different. Now, if you like this stuff, give me the thumbs up. You really like this stuff, punch that subscribe button. Get out there, everybody. Enjoy the day. I'm Tall Mike. Bye-bye now.